When the headlines get loud and the truth gets twisted, one voice cuts through the noise, hard-hitting, controversial. But rooted in common sense, faith and values first. The Friday verdict. The Friday verdict. Conversation. Kingdom impact.
All right. Welcome to the Friday Verdict. I am your host, Keith Wysong, and we are so grateful that you have tuned in to our podcast. We're just a startup podcast and been doing this for maybe a couple months now, and just letting people share it word of mouth, not trying to market anything, but if you want a podcast that's going to give you the truth, hard-hitting truth, that's going to do its homework and make sure you have everything you need to make an informed decision on either what you're going to do or how you feel or believe about a matter, then you can tune in to the Friday Verdict. I'm not paid by Iran or the Qatar. I'm not paid by some foreign entity. I am just simply doing this because I enjoy talking about the topics oftentimes that we're going to be talking about, whether it be politics, religion, sports, current events. I just enjoy the podcast. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and that's just kind of a change of pace for me from time to time to get in this podcast, share with you the truth, and give you topics to think about, discuss. And so we just ask, if you like what you hear, like us on our YouTube channel. Like it, give me the thumbs up, share it with someone, let them know about the podcast, tell them to tune in, and then subscribe to our channel. That way you get, we'll do some giveaways and some different items as we go, that if you're a subscriber, you'll have the chance of winning and so on and so forth. So subscribe to the channel and be a part of the Friday Verdict. We always have somebody that's guilty and someone that's innocent every single week on our episode. And so we ask that you just share, like, and subscribe. Before we get started, I want to thank one of my sponsors, Elite Auto Service out of Union City, Tennessee. Elite Auto Service has been around there in Union City for a couple years, but the owner has been in the industry for over 30. Chris Robertson, good man, honest man, will treat you right. Will make sure that if there's any issue that you have underneath the hood of that vehicle, that he will get it taken care of. And he'll make sure he does a good job and get you back on the road again. So reach out to Chris Robertson at Elite Auto Service in Union City and tell him the Friday Verdict sent you. You will not be disappointed. All right, let's start the podcast today. We're going to combine a couple thoughts today as we talk about the topic. We're going to talk about communism and Mamdani. I don't know that there's any difference. He's just a Islamic communist. He's Islamic Nazi communist is really what he is. He's a Jew-hating mayor of New York City, hates Jews, despises Jews. He's a Muslim. And if you say, oh, now you're a little extreme with that point of view, that's awfully targeted, that's awfully strong. Well, remember, he was sworn in with his hand on the Quran, which I don't think should ever happen in this country. You can't put your hand on the Bible and swear in on the Bible that you'll do what's right and you'll tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth. If you can't put your hand on the Holy Bible and be sworn into your position in civic duty, then you don't belong you don't belong to serve, and you don't belong in that position. Matter of fact, I really question and think that he should be denaturalized and deported back to where he came from. Just my thoughts on Mamdani. I think he is simply a showman. I think he's a carnival barker. I think that he is a Muslim that is wanting you to think he's educated, he's smart, he's an intellect, and he's not. He is a Muslim that wants to push Sharia law on us. He's a Muslim that wants to take everything that you have, that you make, and then just spread the wealth. That's basically what he wants to do. And he wants the government to control. Just like he's mentioned wanting to have government-controlled grocery stores in New York. Mamdani is a joke. Mamdani is a joke. And I guarantee you, if you really only counted the ballots and the votes of legals in New York City, he would not have won. He wouldn't have. It's all the illegals that are in the city of New York that voted. I promise you that. I mean, we may never know the answer, but I'm telling you I'm right on this. He was voted in because of the illegal votes that are counted in New York City. And but he is a Muslim. He is a Nazi. He is an Islamic Nazi. He is hates Jews, hates Christians, and he's going to be outspoken about it. He's going to be absolutely outspoken about it because you can't be a Muslim and not be outspoken. And I've shared this in former podcasts because I believe the biggest threat to America is Islam. Our biggest threat is Islam. We need to stop worrying, as I mentioned last week or so, we need to stop worrying about the Jew, stop worrying about what Jews are doing, and start worrying about what Islam and what the Muslims are doing, because they're trying to take over our country and change our culture and our way of life, bring in their Sharia law and pray to Allah in the middle of everything. Just stop what you're doing in the middle of the street, stop traffic, get down on your knees and begin bowing to a fake God. That's it. That's what they want. And they're doing it in places where they have invaded. I say you denaturalize, and you deport every single one of them. And if you're not a natural-born citizen of America, you shouldn't serve in public office. You just shouldn't serve. Dual citizenship, and none of that. If you're not devoted to this country, and if you cannot assimilate to this country, then you need to go elsewhere. Just go back. There's a lot of Muslim speaking and a lot of Muslim migrated countries. I mean, there's a lot of people that, a lot of nations that Muslims are the main religion. Go back, go there. You don't come here to assimilate. You come here to change and dominate and conquer us. That's what you really wanted to do, is conquer the West. And listen, it shows when he stands up and he says that if Benjamin Netanyahu, which I'm not a fan of, but if he says if Benjamin Netanyahu, a head of state, comes to New York City, he's going to arrest him for war crimes. For war crimes. And I think that's absolutely asinine. That is absolutely a farce. Muslims have more war crimes than any other religion. That's all they do is with their suicide bombers. That's all they do with their conquering by dominating you and threatening. And that's how they all work. There's a ton of war crimes by Islam and by Muslims. And for him to stand there in his position of authority in New York City and threaten the arrest of a visiting head of state, then hey, how about every other country that sends a head of state that has war crimes? You gonna arrest them too, or only if it's a Jew or a Christian? Because if Benjamin Netanyahu was not a Jew, he would not have said that. No. It's because he hates Jews. He hates Benjamin Netanyahu. And he stands there and listen, it's because there's warrants out for Benjamin Netanyahu. There's warrants out for his arrest. Okay? War out for war crimes. War crimes and warrants by the ICC, the International Criminal Court. We aren't a part of it as the United States. We don't partake of it. We don't participate in it. We don't acknowledge it. So in a international law cannot override the U.S. Constitution, and we don't recognize it. We don't recognize the ICC. First of all, think about it. If we let international courts decide what we can do ourselves in our court system, then you will have certain countries and nations that do not like us. They're not friends with us. And so they could take some of our people and our presidents, which if you watch the video at Mamdani when he's talking about arresting Benjamin Netanyahu, he says he believes he should be arrested because of his war crimes. And then he goes on to say, and others as well who have committed war crimes. It was a speech that he read that was crafted and created for him. And the other that committed war crimes, he's talking about Trump. That's who he's talking about because of the war in Iran. The war in Iran, where it has all the Hamas and the American-hating, Christian-hating, Jew-hating country and terrorist groups, that he supports Hamas. Supports Hamas. 25 years after the bombing in New York City, you have elected, again, let's validate it, by illegals, you have elected a mayor who absolutely hates our way of life, hates our country, hates our Constitution, wants to bring in Sharia law, wants to recognize the International Court, Criminal Court. That means an International Criminal Court could say, hey, any president of the United States, we think they are committing war crimes if they go to war with another country that maybe is a part of the ICC, so therefore we're going to arrest you. No, we're not going to be a part of that. That's a sham. But he stands in his press conference and says he should be. I'm going to arrest him. And then he realized he didn't have the power independently to arrest Benjamin. Then he backs up and says that he doesn't have the power. He backpedals and then says, but the federal government does. Yeah, the federal government could if the federal government wanted to, but we don't recognize the ICC. And we should never recognize. I do think Bill Clinton actually, during his second tenure and second term, he actually became a part of the ICC. And then George W. Bush came in and withdrew from it almost instantly. So we're not a part of this. It's an international court. We have our own courts, and we recognize our own court. But he stood there and threatened Benjamin Netanyahu. And really what he's want to do is the people that follow him that aren't very educated or very smart and just listen to anything he says. They see this, and then when it's not done, they begin to have ill feelings toward Americans' judicial system, America's laws, America's ways, and then they start hating America just like he already does. He's just creating and instigating hate. That's what he's doing, because he hates America. He hates our way of life. Understand that. So, and let's talk about it. He's interfering with the U.S. foreign policy. When he made an appointment and had an appointment to speak with Iranian officials just a couple weeks ago during a time of conflict and war that we are at with Iran, that is borderline treason. And again, I think we need to denaturalize him, and we need to deport him. We need to get him out of America and get him as far away from this country as we can. He should not be serving as a mayor of one of our largest cities and be a anti-Christian, anti-Jew. He's anti-Semitic. He hates our nation. He hates everything we stand for, and he needs to go. He needs to go. I'm sorry. He needs to go. The biggest threat to America is Islam. Biggest threat to America is communism. Islam and communism. That's the biggest threat to America. Biggest threat. And so I just think when you start going around threatening foreign heads of states, that you become and listen, you become a national security risk. And the FBI knew that he was, and he wasn't given security clearance. You can't give someone like him top secret security clearance. You can't do it. No way. Not a carnival barker. There's no way you can do that. So you look at him and you see how he is. He's a showman. He's a puppet for the powers to be. which is Islam, and they're communists. But listen, communism has never worked. Communism does not work. It's been tried in a number of our countries over the past century, and it just has failed in every single episode. Economics, it fails. It's inefficient when you're dealing with economics. It's a political repression in every country for the last century that it has been attempted to be the way of life. And let's talk about some of these. I think the most notable failure in communism is the USSR, the former Soviet Union, now known as Russia. It began in 1917 and went all the way to 1991. Communism. But during that time of communism, what happened? What took place there? What happened to where they're no longer communists? The state controlled nearly all industry and all agriculture. Think about it. Think about the United States of America, our government, which doesn't do anything well. Okay? It's better to be left in the hands of the private sector. We don't need the government to get involved in anything. They can't do anything right. But yet, in Russia, USSR, during the communist years, it was state-controlled agriculture and industry. So what happened? You had chronic shortages of food and goods. Never had enough goods, never had enough food. People were starving because only certain people, when it's centralized, then the ones that they want to have food got food. People were starving to death in the USSR because communism was its way of life and it was inefficient. The central planning for the whole entire nation was ineffective. That's why you have states, and that's why you have local municipalities. That's why you have like what we have that works well and has worked well for 250 years. We don't need Sharia law. We don't need communism. We need capitalism. You need to be rewarded for hard work, rewarded for your due diligence in serving and doing and making a life for yourself. That's one reason why communism never works, because there's no incentive to do well, because the government controls it all. Lack of innovation, lack of incentives. So the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. After extremely economic stagnation and political pressure, it absolutely collapsed. How about another one? How about China? 1949 to 1976. They had the key campaign was the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. It forced collectivization of farms, and massive famine resulted. Again, same thing the USSR did. Massive shortages in food, massive shortages in supplies that are necessary and needed. And as a result, tens of millions of people died in China as a result of communism. It just creates social chaos. And the outcome, again, is just millions of people died. And so they then shifted toward a mixed economy and a mixed market, which is what they have now. It's still a dictatorship, but they have a market to where, you know, they want to ship all their goods everywhere else. And they have been the number one country when it comes to shipping across the world. And, the reason why they interfered in the 2020 election like they did and got over 200 million of our American citizens' personal information is because Trump was putting a hurt on them when it comes to trade. And their fake driver's license that they created, the ballots that they were creating that were fake. I'm telling you, we should be taking it to them for what they did. There should be repercussions for them overturning and basically sabotaging the 2020 election. China is a threat to America as well. their way of life. They're communists, and they got a mixed economy right now. Again, communism is a part of it. How about North Korea? 1948 is when communism took over in North Korea, and it's still a communist country even today. They've got extreme isolation from global trade. They just are extremely isolated from everybody else. They have the centralized control of all resources. And what happens? Same thing that happened in China and USSR. They're constantly having food shortages and famine. Why do you think that China is buying up our farmland? Because they want to bring a food shortage to America. I think our government needs to step in and take away and take from the Chinese every bit of farmland that they own in America. A foreign country should not own land in our country. They're buying up the farmland so there can be shortages in America, and they'll do the same thing they do everywhere else. They will starve us out and want to kill us. That's just it. So you look at North Korea, what has been the outcome of their communism that is still in the way of life for them today, still their culture. There remains one of the most economically and politically isolated nations in the world. Venezuela, we all have heard of Venezuela and how awful they do. 2000, right at 2000 and until now, it's a socialist policies mixed in with communism. So it's kind of a hybrid. Heavy government control of industry, price controls, currency collapse. They had a hyperinflation and shortages as a result of their socialist, communist policies that they are living by. Outcome, again, severe economic crisis and mass immigration. Get out of here. People wanted to get out of there. And you can go to Cambodia, another one, time frame 1975 to 1979. And you can go on and on of where communism did not work. How about Cuba? Cuba right now, present from 1959 to present under Fidel Castro, as most of us know. A dictatorship, a communist regime that still controls Cuba. So they've had limited economic growth. They have a heavy reliance on the government to distribute. Don't trust the government to distribute anything, especially when it's a communist government. They're only going to care about distributing to the ones that they want to distribute it to. They're still functioning, but with significant economic constraints and reliance on, they're relying on reforms. They need reform. And maybe, just maybe, our Secretary of State will become the next president of Cuba. He knows. Why not? Why not? Maybe after he becomes president of the United States here in a few years. I'm just saying. How about East Germany? Another failed attempt for communism. Failed attempt. You see, socialism and communism is two ugly brother and sisters. Socialism says, hey, we want you to take from those who have, and we want to spread it out to all those that don't have. So let's take from hardworking people and give the lazy people who don't get up and do anything. Or lazy people who can't keep a job. Or lazy people who don't have the wherewithal to get up and just work hard and make a hard and good living for your family. That's what's so, it doesn't work. Because then people who work hard don't want to work. They're not incentivized. There's no reason for them to want to work when they're having to give their money to some deadbeat over here that doesn't want to work. I'm just saying. Then communism is, hey, let the government control. Let the government control. And the food industry, are you kidding me? I don't need the government controlling anything. The government needs to get out of the way. They make a mess of everything they touch. The government is not, we need the private sector involved. Individuals can do better with the items and the topics and the things that the government get involved in. We don't need the government involved. But listen, when the government gets involved and they start controlling, then what you get is you get communism. Communism cannot ever be a way of life for the United States of America. We are a capitalist. We are a republic. We are a country that believes in capitalism. Okay? We believe in the freedom of the markets, not controlled by the government. And you should be able to keep more of your earnings. We don't need to be spread the wealth and spread the money to evenly across the board. If you work 5 hours a week and I work 55 hours a week, I should have a lot more than you because you're lazy. That's what communism does. And this Mamdani is a Islam, and he's a Nazi, and he's a communist. See, he wants the grocery stores ran by the city, which means it's going to be shortages, which means you're going to see people really struggling to survive in New York City. That's why people are fleeing. And then they're just like getting out as quick. Only ones still there are illegals. And of course, we take care of illegals better than we do our service military men and women who are veterans, our seniors. They're the ones leaving. And then you got all your illegals running around making a mess in New York City, which was once a beautiful city that you could walk. I walked down the streets of it. Never had a fear years ago. I wouldn't want to walk down the streets of New York City now. No way. The garbage, the trash, the human waste, the illegals, the criminals, the pedophiles that are walking the streets of New York because we consider New York City our sanctuary city. How's that working out for you? Then they don't want ICE to, you know why you don't want ICE deporting people and taking them back and shipping them back to their homeland is because you want their vote illegally. Listen, the Save America Act that 90% of America wants, and the reason it's not getting passed is because those who aren't passing it, they cheat to win, and they know they can't win on a fair match. They're cheaters. They want illegals to vote for them. They want people to fill out many ballots for them and then stick it in the mailbox. Well, there's no corruption there. And we heard how Trump's speech last week. Again, you may not like him, but when you're seeing that the government and the levels of government and the heads of government in our FBI, CIA, NSA, looking to see, wow, we have released file after file, report after report of how China was involved, the illegals, the corruption, the crime. I'm telling you, we as Americans have got to rise up regardless of our political persuasion, regardless of our party affiliation, and we've got to say no to communism. No to communism. No to socialism. Yes to capitalism. That's what we have to do. Or otherwise, again, we will not be celebrating another 250 years. We won't. We won't make it. We won't survive. We will leave for the next generation a third world country. If we do not get the Save America Act passed, if we do not fight off communism, if we don't get these Islams and Islamic Nazis and then these carnival barkers and these showmans out of leadership and politics and positions of authority in our country and denaturalize them and deport them back to where they came from, America will not be the shining light, the shining city on a hill. It will not be. It won't be. It won't. It'll be a third world country with a banana republic. So, there you have it. Who's guilty? Mamdani. Mamdani. I hope the FBI and the CIA, I hope the FBI is all over that. I hope he gets denaturalized and deported. What a joke. What a joke. He hates it. You can watch him speak and see the hate that he has for our way of life and our culture. Our Christian nation. That's why they're here. They want to conquer the West because we're infidels. And that's how he believes. And that's why he has made the threats to Benjamin Netanyahu with war crimes. Well, let me tell you something. Let's just be honest about the war crimes, and I'm gonna finish up here. War crimes. You come in and you have your terrorist groups attack Israel and kill their babies and kill innocent women, and then you expect Israel then to go in and start bombing Hamas and the Palestinians and others that have brought this war to them. And you say, oh, war crimes, they killed innocent babies. You know what? You know what Muslims do in their way of fighting? They'll tie a bomb to a 5-year-old kid. They'll put a bomb inside a fanny pack of a Muslim woman as she's completely covered and blow you up. So you can't just say, hey, we got to leave the innocent women and the kids alone. We can't. They can't. They use them to kill you. They use them to kill you. So, and they consider that war crimes. Again, there you have it. Guilty, Mamdani. Guilty, communism. Who's innocent? Those of you like me, who believe in capitalism, who believe in Christianity, who believe that we ought to be a Christian nation and stand up for our Christian values, that we were founded upon Christian values. In God we trust, not in Allah. I'm looking forward to going to heaven and seeing Jesus. I'm not looking forward to going to heaven and having 60, 70, 80 virgins. I don't need that. I just need Jesus. So you keep your Allah, you keep your virgins, and just give me Jesus. There you go. There you have it. All right. I want to thank our other sponsor, Brassfield Body Shop, downtown Dyersburg. If you need some body work done, not on your belly, but on your car or your truck, you need some body work done, give them a call. Brassfield's Body Shop, a family-owned business, been in business there in Dyersburg for 54 years. State-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art facilities, 24-hour towing, and free estimates. Give them a call. Give them a call and tell them the Friday Verdict sent you. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right. Until next time, remember, do not be a wackadoodle.